I'm just going to read y'all my journal entry. We just getting up close and personal on episode 2, okay? Because we get right into it. So let's go.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, lay here beside me. Don't wanna move too fast, your lips on the floors, sipping on your love, sipping on your love.
Welcome back to another episode of the World of Wellness podcast. So let's get right into it. The title of this episode is going to be I Said What I Said. Okay, walk with me here. So I recently moved to Atlanta. Today is March 28th, 2023. I moved to Atlanta back in December 5th, actually, of 2022. And whenever you move to a new city, it's scary because for one, I knew a handful of people here, but yeah, that's a long story. And basically I found myself in a place where I have no friends, essentially. So I feel lonely sometimes, which is rare for me because I am one that will keep you, him, her, everybody entertained. And so that means I keep myself entertained first and foremost. I grew up, I was 7 years younger than my middle sibling. So there's my sister, my other sister, and then my brother. And then 7 years later, done, rose out me. So it was a very lonely childhood. I had friends in the neighborhood, but I say all that to say I'm used to feeling isolated. And so my imagination grew, and that's what sustains me. But as I grow older, and I've been single for going on 6 years, it gets lonely sometimes. And I find myself just working because I'm like, well, I don't have anybody else to share my time with, so I might as well put some work in. But I'm learning to unravel that pattern because it's not healthy and it's not sustainable. And it also gets in the way of consistency because when you exhaust yourself constantly, you're less likely to want to show up again because it doesn't feel good when you finish it. Versus if you do a healthy amount of work and then you stop and you're like, okay, I could do this again tomorrow because now I get to enjoy myself. So let's get right into it. This came from me having a lonely moment and not feeling like I had anybody I really wanted to share that with. I shared it with my mom and she told me to basically read a book. That's her solution to everything because she loves to read. Me, on the other hand, I like to read, but I don't really read I don't like fiction. I like books about economics. That's my favorite thing to read about. Or I was about to say trading, which is also economics. I like to read the Bible. I like to read books written by successful people, like Principles by Ray Dalio is one of my favorite books. So I decided to go outside. It was dark, so I went outside. I put my little blanket down. I brought my journal out and my crystals and stuff, and I just prayed for a second. And then I started writing. And I didn't know that it would turn into a podcast episode, but literally, let me see. Yeah, once the pen touched the paper, it was it. So I'm just going to read y'all my journal entry. We just getting up close and personal on episode 2, okay? Because we get right into it. So let's go. This was written on the 23rd of March, just a few days ago. It says, flood of emotions / recognizable growth. So I'm here to be human and vent, not to complain. I think one of the worst things about spirituality is the guilt we feel when expressing anything other than love and light. I think it's extremely discouraging and prevents us from wanting to authentically and completely express how we feel while moving through our human experiences. To my listeners, please don't be afraid to express your rage, sorrow, or grief here as we build a community of people who are choosing to be okay with feeling emotions we attribute to the shadow self. If you were never supposed to have these types of emotions, they would never arise. One of the most annoying things I've experienced is trying to express when I feel upset or lonely and having someone spew back a response that in so many ways says to rise above the emotion. I will, of course, because I'm aware that they are not to be steeped in forever. But for the time being, I allow them to move through me instead of choosing the toxic positivity that has become spirituality for most people, or many people, I should say. I challenge you to have the courage to advocate for the spiritual warriors. The next time you find yourself in such a conversation, by clearly expressing that the law of attraction is well understood. The secret has been read and told many times, right? However, we are humans just as much as we are souls. That means that this experience won't always feel good. That is okay, and that is expected. So the next time you feel anything other than love and light, allow those emotions to be there, and when you're ready, turn them into your personal assistants to help you uncover what in life has led you to this emotional experience and how to move through that to a perspective that feels more empowering. If you've been someone who spews toxic positivity when instead people need embracing and reassurance, please get connected to your total and true self and be honest about your emotions and your range of emotional experiences. That's all for now. So that wasn't supposed to be, I guess it was supposed to be because it is, but I didn't plan to write a podcast episode. So real quick, I just want to get into why it's so annoying to me, because I've been on the spiritual path since 2017, right? One day I'll tell y'all about the start of it. But I've come across a lot of phonies and fake people on this journey who are like fake spiritual, fake kind, just as much as we have hypocritical Christians. The spiritual community can sometimes be even worse, because it's like, oh, if you call it God, then you're not spiritual. You're being religious. And we just get caught up in the mess. It's just another way to divide instead of bring together and conquer, right? So those types of people often, or people who may be in their intro to spirituality and not really been through as much as certain people have been through. Not saying I'm the guru on it, but I've been through hell a few times and I fought my way back out, and look at me. I still look phenomenal, if I may say so myself, okay? So I learned a thing or two. And one thing that I run into a lot is people saying, oh, well, just be positive. Well, just look on the bright side, or don't complain, and it's like, but I am though, because I said what I said, because I feel what I feel, right? If I feel lonely, okay, I'm sad about it, and I'm going to allow myself to be sad about it. But then I'm going to tell y'all what happened after I wrote this. I came back inside. I journaled a little more personal stuff. Came back inside, and then I said, well, what are we going to do about this? Because that's the way I operate. I feel what I feel, right? I use guidance. I use emotions as a guiding system. So I felt the sadness and the loneliness. I went out to release my sorrow, to process it through writing, because that's one of my favorite ways to process things. And then I came inside and I asked myself the big questions. Why do you feel this way? And what are you going to do about it? So the conclusion I drew was to start going on meetup.com, the app, yes, and reaching out to join communities and go out to meditation events, to yoga, wellness spaces, game nights, just going places where people are already doing things that I do, because that makes it more likely that I'll find acquaintances that are more equally yoked, right? Acquaintances where I could feel like we can develop a friendship and I don't have to be your wellness coach, because that's kind of what's happened. And that's why I have no friends at this point, because I started to feel like I was always on the clock, like on my wellness coaching clock. And I'm like, listen, baby, you're not paying me for this. And yes, it comes easy to me, but that doesn't mean it's not work. I love to sit here and talk to people about their problems and let them share their grief and embrace them and validate it. But at the same time, I send invoices for that now. So if you're my friend, and when I find myself in a pit, I feel like I can't reach out to you because you can't offer me anything helpful. But yet on the other side of that, I'm always the one being leaned on and poured into and poured out. I mean, not even poured into, like dumped into. I call it dumping, when people just emotionally dump all their stuff on me. I stop allowing that, because unless you're a client of Live Well Coaching Community, I'm not going to allow it because it costs now. It's not free. It's been free for the last 27 years of my life, and this is where it stops because it's a gift to me, and gifts are meant to be given and reciprocated, right? So if we have a friendship where I feel like there's no reciprocity and I can't lean on you for anything other than maybe to get drunk and go out and have a good time, what does that leave our friendship? Empty. Nothing. So I encourage you to evaluate the relationships in your life. Look at them. Look at their dynamics. Look at what you're giving versus what they're giving. Look at how it feels to you. Can you call on them on a night like this? On a night like that lonely night when I wrote this, right? If you cannot, it's time to do some movement. It's time to have some constructive conversations. I'm not saying run away right away, but I'm saying shed light on the fact that, hey, you know what, friend? I felt away the other night and I didn't want to call you. And that kind of made me sad because I thought we were best friends, right? I thought that we were closer than that. But feelings never lie. Energy never lies. So I don't care what you think in here, what you feel in your heart and in your spirit. That is the utmost truth, even above what you see with your physical eyes. And one episode, we're going to talk about seeing with your spiritual eyes and hearing with your spiritual ears, because I think it's so important. But I just wanted to bring this to y'all. And if you're one of those people who minimizes people's quote unquote negative emotions or quote unquote shadow aspects of them, I want to encourage you to stop that. And I think it'll be easier for you to stop that if you start to be more authentic and honest with yourself about what you feel, because no human always feels love and light. I don't care if it's the Dalai Lama or whoever, right? We go through a range of experiences, and it's only natural to feel a range of emotions as a result of those range of experiences. So I'm going to leave it here, okay? If you heard anything that helped you, I encourage you to rate it 5 stars, okay? Share with at least one friend or a family member who may be dealing with the struggle between the light and the darkness, right? Feeling guilty for feeling certain ways in certain situations, or share it with a person who is positively toxic, okay? That's my best way to put it. Until next time, your favorite wellness coach is signing out. And if you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. I love you, and I will see you next episode. Peace.